I stopped steaming corn in plain water after trying milk instead. The corn turned softer, slightly chewy, and wonderfully fragrant. Hi, I'm Nancy. I always steamed corn in water and never thought much about it. But once I switched to milk, the corn turned out softer, sweeter, and much more flavorful. Today, I'll show you a simple way to steam corn with milk and how to turn it into an easy, comforting corn pudding you can make right at home. I begin by preparing the corn. First, rinse the corn thoroughly under clean running water. For this recipe, 1 or 2 ears of corn are enough, depending on how much you want to make. After rinsing, bring a pot of water to a gentle boil and add a small amount of milk to the water. The milk does not completely replace the water, but simply makes the cooking liquid richer. This helps the corn absorb a creamy flavor and its natural sweetness from the very beginning. Instead of losing flavor in plain boiling water, add the corn to the pot and cook for about 2 to 3 minutes. This step is not meant to fully cook the corn. The goal is simply to deepen the yellow color of the kernels and soften them slightly. At this stage, the corn is still a bit firm, and that is exactly what we want. Corn that is not fully cooked is easier to work with later. The kernels separate more easily, and the texture remains fresh and springy. This leads to better results when blending the corn, steaming it with milk, or turning it into corn pudding. Think of this step as preparing the corn, not finishing it. The small amount of milk in the cooking water has already begun to build flavor, setting the foundation for a richer and more satisfying result later on. It is this simple beginning that creates a noticeably different flavor and a much better result for everything that comes next. After the corn has been lightly boiled and prepared, the next step is removing the kernels. You can remove the corn kernels using any method you are familiar with. If you are not sure how to remove the kernels while keeping them whole, you can watch my video again, where I explained in detail how to remove corn kernels quickly and neatly. At this stage, the corn is not fully cooked, so the kernels are easier to remove and still remain plump and fresh. Place all the corn kernels into a blender. Next, add the sugar and milk. This recipe is designed to have a mild, balanced sweetness that is not too strong and not overpowering. You can always adjust the amount of sugar slightly depending on your taste. If you prefer a richer flavor, you can replace part of the milk with coconut milk. Using half milk and half coconut milk creates a gentle creaminess and a wonderful aroma that pairs very well with corn. Blend all the ingredients until the mixture is completely smooth. This blended mixture is the flavor foundation of the corn pudding, so taking the time to blend it thoroughly is truly important. After blending, I pour the mixture through a fine strainer. This step helps remove the corn pulp, making the final pudding smoother, softer, and easier to eat. If you prefer a pudding with a bit of texture, you can save some of the corn bits and add them back later. But for a pudding that melts in your mouth, straining makes a noticeable difference. After straining, it is time to add the tapioca starch. Add it gradually while stirring continuously. This helps prevent lumps from forming. Continue stirring until the starch is fully dissolved and the mixture becomes smooth. This step is very important because it determines the final texture of the pudding. When done correctly, the pudding will be soft, slightly chewy, and pleasantly elastic after steaming. By the way, I'd like to ask if you have any other corn recipes. Please share them with me in the comments. I'd really love to learn more from your cooking experience. Now prepare the steaming equipment. I use a glass tray as the steaming mold. Lightly brush a thin layer of oil over the surface to prevent sticking. This small step will make removing the pudding much easier later. Pour the mixture into the prepared container and gently smooth the top. Place the container into the steamer, cover with a lid, and steam over medium heat for about 20 minutes. There is no need to rush this step. You can tell the pudding is done when it begins to set, and the surface looks firm and stable. At that point, turn off the heat and carefully remove the pudding from the steamer. This gentle steaming process brings all the ingredients together, creating a soft, fragrant corn pudding that feels warm and satisfying. Once the corn pudding has finished steaming, carefully remove it from the steamer and let it cool slightly. As the steam escapes, you'll notice the surface looks smooth and softly set. The aroma is one of the best parts warm corn, gentle milkiness. And if you used coconut milk, a light, comforting coconut fragrance that fills the kitchen. After resting for a few minutes, the pudding becomes easier to handle. At this point, you can cut it into pieces using a knife, choosing whatever size feels right for you. The texture should be soft, slightly chewy, and pleasantly springy. When you gently press the surface, it should bounce back slowly, showing that perfect balance between tenderness and elasticity. This corn pudding tastes wonderful when enjoyed warm, but it also keeps very well. If you don't finish it all at once, simply place the pieces into an airtight container and store them in the refrigerator. It will stay soft and chewy for 2 to 3 days, making it a convenient treat to enjoy little by little. Compared to eating corn that's simply boiled or steamed in water, this pudding is on a completely different level. Instead of a watery or bland taste, you get a rich corn flavor with natural sweetness, a creamy mouthfeel, and a satisfying texture that feels more like a homemade dessert than a basic side dish. Take a moment to enjoy it slowly. Notice how the pudding gently jiggles, how the aroma spreads as you cut into it, and how each bite feels soft and comforting. This is the kind of simple recipe that doesn't require many ingredients or special tools, yet delivers results that often exceed expectations. If you enjoyed this recipe, I hope you'll share it with someone you care about. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for more easy, comforting recipes made with everyday ingredients.